YouTube, this is Frugal. Here we are, back in Orbx Tapini scenery in the Real Air Simulations Lance Air Legacy version 2. This week we're at Fane, which was the treacherous landing I did in the last video, and we're going to be taking from Fane and flying to Ononge, O-N-O-N-G-E, I think is how it's spelled, or O-N-B is the code, which is only about 12 miles away, but it's a very interesting airfield. Like this one, it's a grass strip on a ridgeline. Unlike this one, it's a little bit easier to see because it's predominantly mud, and also unlike this one, it actually has a strange quirk, which is it has a 10-degree turn in the middle of it. So you land, and then about a quarter of the way down the runway, you need to turn. You need to make a right turn in the aircraft that landed. Imagine that. So the landing we just did on this ridgeway, imagine doing that, but when you touch down, you now need to be slowing down and thinking about making a right-hand turn halfway or quarter of way along the runway. It's pretty insane, as with all the airports in Orbx's Tapini pack. I keep getting asked, and I have covered this in part 1, but I know I did miss it in the second part, and the second part 2. So what am I flying? I just told you, Real Air Simulations Lance Air Legacy version 2. The simulator is prepared, but that shouldn't make any difference. It really doesn't make a difference. Everything I'm flying with and in and around today also is available for FSX. I just prefer filming in prepared. It's easier for me to film in, and it looks a whole lot better as well. But anyway, the sim is prepared. The textures up in the sky and on the ground are Orbx FTX Global, Rex 4 Texture Direct, Rex Soft Clouds, and of course Orbx Tapini. My cameras are being moved by an add-on called Easy Dock from Flight 1 Software. So hopefully that clears everything up. And again, as with all the Lance Air Legacy flights, I'm flying with my Thrustmaster Warthog. I've started this up, I'm ready to go, but you can already see a problem, I imagine, in that there's no runway. The runway is actually over this ridgeline. It's terrifying to actually do, so I'm not going to worry about that just yet. What I am going to do is pop on down to the GPS here, which is the Flight 1 GTN 650. Why did you choose the 650 over the 750, Frugal? Because I like the look of it. I just think it fits the aircraft I fly better. Just my personal opinion. No reason other than I thought it looked good. Alright, so we're going to do a direct to, and I had to set up... Actually, it's not going to work. I don't know why. Let's pop this out. I had to set up a user waypoint because ONB is not in the Flight 1 or the Garmin database. So I had to set up a user waypoint for this. I've already done that. So we're going to go direct to, select a waypoint, and we're going to type in ONB. There it is. My user waypoint has already been found. So we will go enter and activate. Course is 119 degrees. Now ONB is actually 5,800 feet up the runway. We're currently at 4,500 feet at this one. I have leaned the engine as well, and by the way, I do appreciate the feedback most of the time. You know, obviously when you make these videos, it can get a little frustrating to keep on having people saying you did this wrong, you did that wrong, but I do get some valuable feedback, and I really appreciate it. One feedback I got was, why am I leaning the engine using exhaust gas temperature instead of just sound? Because that is one of the approved ways of doing it. I actually went and looked up how to lean engines on AOPA's website, and AOPA say yes, you can do it audibly by sound, or you can do it the scientific somewhat way. I'm doing it the scientific way, which is I lean the mixture. Look at the EGT right here, 583. I lean the mixture, and you'll see it keep rising. At a certain point, it will not rise anymore, it will drop. So there we are, 650-ish. And if I increase now, it's dropping. So the highest I got was 650. So we enriched the mixture now to 50 degrees less than as high as we got. So I'm going to enrich it down to 600. That's how I'm leaning the engine for the altitude that I'm at. Now, of course, a number of other people pointed out you can take off with a leaned engine. I fully intend to today. I'm also going to be taking off with almost full flaps, or even full flaps. Before we do that, though, let's go ahead and set up where we're going. I'm not going to use the autopilot, but I do like having it available just in case. Let me rephrase that. I'm not planning to use the autopilot, but I do like having it available to me just in case. So we're going to be cruising at an altitude of 10,000 feet. That's why I'm in the Lance Air Legacy, as opposed to a Cessna from Coronado or the Comanche or something like that, because I have oxygen here and it's more realistic. So 10,000 feet, that's all done, and our vertical speed is going to be about 1,000 feet per minute. Great on nav mode. Not going to turn the yaw damper on. A mistake I keep making is turning the yaw damper on. I didn't fully understand how the yaw damper works. The way it works is it's actually separate from the autopilot, and it feeds in and a rudder to compensate for a turn. It is a yaw dampener, so where you would normally roll and yaw can play a factor there, the yaw damper reduces that, and in many instances actually makes it unnecessary for you to manually coordinate a turn if you have the yaw damper on. I shouldn't have had that on, and again I'm summarizing from memory what I read a couple of weeks ago now after that comment was posted. But basically, the long and the short of it is I landed with the yaw damper on. I shouldn't do that, and I certainly shouldn't be taking off with it on either. I need all the rudder authority I can get. So we're all good. Let's check the weather real quick.
Alpha Yankee Papa Yankee airport information Delta 2200 Zulu weather wind 314 at 6 visibility 10 sky condition few clouds at 1000 3000 scattered ceiling 4000 broken temperature 25 dew point 24 QNH 1010 advise on initial contact you have information Delta Alpha Yankee Papa Yankee airport information Delta 2200 Zulu weather wind 314 at 6 visibility 10.
Alright, wind 314 degrees 6 knots. Not gonna be too big a factor, I think, today, unlike the other videos. It actually looks like quite a nice day, not raining or anything like that. I have already done the run-up check, so I'm not gonna bore you to tears by doing it now. We have our path, our route set in. I'm going to zoom in on this. As I said, it's only 12 miles, 12.7 nautical miles. I've done my run-up. I've got my autopilot set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my strobe lights on, my landing lights on. Probably not going to need pitot heat today. It is quite warm, so not going to worry about that. But what I am going to do is start messing with my flaps. So, whoops, that's not the flaps button. I'm going to drop the flaps actually to near full. About there. There they are. Because it's going to be an interesting takeoff. It's a sloping runway. All the runways in Orbx's Tapini are sloping. This one probably more so than many others I've seen. Let me just fix my view here because it's all kind of out of whack. Good. So what I'm going to do, I am going to knock off the brake. Just getting my chair positioned correctly here. This is actually quite terrifying. I have done this already. It didn't go too bad. I'm hoping it goes even better than not too bad now. But the first thing I did was actually, because I can't see the runway, and I've never read in a pilot's handbook that you need to be able to physically see the runway. Well, actually, other than the difference between VFR and IFR and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I'm guessing it's a good idea to be able to see where the runway goes. So I'm going to edge the aircraft up here, little by little. Very gently until the aircraft starts to point downhill and I can see the runway. That's going to be very important, as you'll see. So here we are on the ridgeline. This is actually quite terrifying, even though it's just a little sim. I'm guessing probably more terrifying for me because I'm filming it for you guys. Oh my god, there's the runway. Holy crap. Okay, alright, field takeoff procedures, which many of you pointed out as well. So I'm going to increase power. And I've got to watch this. It's a little bit tricky. I'm already getting all sorts of nasty warnings I don't want to get. Whoa. There we go. It's no longer holding on the brakes. We're going. We're done. Time to go. Engine warning already. That'll go out in a second. Don't worry about it. Turning on the brakes. It's free castering, of course. God. What I did not do is adjust the trim, but it's okay. Stick full back. Now ease up on the stick. I've already got a stall warning. Okay, gear up. We are airborne just. My god. We're going to turn out to the left here. Start bringing in these flaps as well. While we gain some height up to about 10,000 feet. I'm still first stage of flaps down. That's just fine. I'm going to let the speed come out. There's 110. Flaps all the way up now. Let's just coast out this way for now. That was hard stopping. I'm going to trim this for about 110. We're nowhere near at 110 yet. I'll bring back the RPM there to 26 and we'll go full power now. I didn't go full power because, as you saw, I had engine warnings up, which were a little concerning. But now we have a lot of airflow through the engine. I don't have too much of a problem. We're going full power. Alright, landing lights can go off at this point. Let's look at my checklist. Takeoff. So we want 24 to 27 inches. We're currently at 24.9 inches. So a great RPM has been reduced. We don't need to worry about anything until we get into the cruise now. And I need to look at my list. The cruise settings, typical cruise settings for a Lance Air Legacy are power 75%, manifold pressure 22, 23 inches, and 2400 RPM. So we'll just go 24 squared, I guess. And we'll just fly straight out here, climbing and climbing and climbing up to 10,000 feet. And we'll start our left-hand turn and get back on course. Absolutely stunning scenery as always. Now, as I mentioned before in the previous videos, the Flight 1 GTN 650 does update this, and the autopilot does work with this. So I'm currently flying away from where I need to be, and I'm off course. I'm to the right of my course, which is fine. We'll be starting a left-hand turn and actually get back on course, which should be very, very lovely indeed. I know the runway is round about 33320, so I'm going to adjust my heading here to give me a bug for the runway heading over at Ononge. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. And so far we're good. The wind is not pushing us around too much. It's a beautiful day for flying, to the point that we can actually pop outside right now and take a look. There we are. Look at that scenery. This, I think, I spent quite a bit of time in this Orbx Tapini scenery now. I've got to say, I believe this is Orbx's greatest work. It's absolutely incredible. Much of this scenery here, these mountains, is actually free from Orbx. It's the Orbx Holger mesh, which provides all of these mountains and ridges, and it's, again, very, very, very cool. Let's get back in my aircraft. I am starting to turn. Let's not. 7,900 feet. I'm going to start leaning again. We're at 1520 on the EGT. So leaning it. Leaning it. There it goes, 1580 already. And it's dropping. So we're going to go off 1580 down to 1530, which would be 1580 minus 50. We are leaned. Not so hard, is it? Continue climbing. I could feasibly start my turn now, actually, so I will. Feed in some left rudder, because we're not using the yaw damper right now. I could, of course. A little bit of back pressure, just keep that climb going. We are actually on course at this point, so I'm probably going to have to turn more than I need to and zigzag a little to get on course out to Ononge. 9,000 feet. Got to watch that carefully, because in this aircraft we'll need to turn on oxygen once we hit 10,000 feet. Nicely coordinated. My rate of climb slowed. Need to fix that. So we're just going to go beyond the heading that we need to be on, which is there, to re-intercept the course. And I am going to turn the yaw damper on now, just to reduce my workload a little. Come on, there we go. And as we come up on 10,000 feet, oxygen can go on. Alright, RPM can come back. Can't do anything about the power, but we'll bring the RPM back to about 23. We'll continue to finish off our climb up to 10,000 feet. And then just trim it for straight and level. 17 miles to go because of our little detour at the start there. Quite normal. Now, I did some searching on YouTube. There are other videos out there from the real world of people flying into many of the airports in Orbx's Tapini pack. And I gotta say, you should go look for some of them. Just search by Papua New Guinea landings, and you'll find some of them. Orbx have done an amazing job at capturing the look and feel and the sheer terror that comes in flying in this area, this part of the world. There we go, we're on course. A little bit high, we'll just drop that down. Speed's coming up. 15 miles to go. Quite a fast aircraft. Now, as the speed's coming up, I do need to keep trimming, because as you get more speed, obviously the wings are moving through the airflow faster, generating more lift. The aircraft will start to climb as you increase in speed. So I am keeping an eye on what the nose really of the aircraft is doing more than anything else, and retrimming it and retrimming it and retrimming it in response to the speed changes. There we go again. See, we're climbing as the speed came up. 13.8 miles. Wonderful stuff. Look at this amazing scenery. Now I have been trying to set up flights with Alex from Code Zero. I am hoping to get him for the last 1 or 2 flights of this series. There's a couple more to go yet. I'm hoping to have him join me for the last couple. I think that'd be a lot of fun. There'll obviously be less focus on instruction and informative commentary and more on banter with he and I joking around. I really do want to film with Alex, and I've been very remiss at making that happen. So apologies to the Northern Alex fans who are waiting for that to happen, and to Alex, of course. It will come soon, I promise. Where are we at? 10 miles. I did fly here yesterday. Let's check it out. The landing was okay. Hopefully we're going to do a better job today, but I was quite shocked at how visible this airfield is. It's just a strip again. A little dirt strip. Nothing major, but it's actually very, very visible. And the cool thing is, flying from Fane to Ononge, we're actually almost on the reciprocal course. You can see down here, I set my heading bug up. We're almost on the reciprocal. So we're almost on the downwind heading. As long as we have the airport pass on our left, we can pretty much say we're downwind. It makes lining up much less of a challenge than it was at Fane, where the airport is, or airfield, is almost camouflaged. Which was a bonus. I was quite happy to see that. Dropped under 10,000 S, just bring it up to 9,900. Sorry, up to 10,000 again. We dropped down to 9,900. 6.8 miles. And there it is. Can you see it? I won't point at it just yet. See how many people see it. See how fast you see it. Do you see it? It's there. You can actually see it. It's a clear tan line on top of that ridgeline. Very easy to see. The first time I saw that, I thought, no, that can't be it. There's no way that's it. But it actually really, really is it. But it's deceptive. From this angle, it looks like a nice straight runway. It's only when you turn base and then final that you suddenly realize this is anything but a normal runway. It is terrifying. You can see we're going to be flying in here, over this line here, over this ridge here. Lots of high ridge lines. We can't get too low. We'll just smash into those ridge lines before touching down. And if we go too far to the right, there's this one here, which is higher than Ononge, which is pretty crazy. Alright, so we can say that we're downwind. So, oxygen's coming off. Going to reduce the power. Come on, off you go. There she blows. Whoops. Track IR's messing up because of my microphone. So if the quality of my voice changes at this point, it's because I moved the microphone closer. I apologize for that. I am actually now bashing it with my watch. Okay. So we're going to reduce power. We'll try to trim the aircraft for a nice descent around about 1,000 feet per minute, 1,500 feet per minute. Where is it? I've lost it. Hello? It's out there somewhere. Doesn't matter. We can find it. I know where I am. There it is. Watch closely at the end of the runway. See, look, straight line, straight line, straight line. Now, it looks very straight, but it's not. Where that line thins out, it's actually turning that way. You need to land and then turn. Which is crazy. Rex soft clouds now kicking in. Awesome cloud effects there. I need to trim this aircraft. Getting a little bit out of hand. Okay, landing lights can go on. Speed's coming down nicely. We'll go full forward on the prop pitch at this point. The microphone is in the wrong place completely. Hang on. Sorry about this, guys. Okay. So we're coming down again. I'm going to trim it, trim it, trim it. Try to be very careful with this descent. Don't want to smash into a hill. Let's turn somewhat base. I'll turn the yaw damper off. Don't need to be thinking about the speed brakes just yet. There it is. There's the runway. You can see that tan patch there, and you can actually very clearly see the turn now. So, going to steepen up this turn. We don't have flaps out yet, so I can do that. And then we are going to need to slow down in a hurry. which will be, of course, speed brake. And try to get the aircraft configured to land as soon as I possibly can. Alright, speed brake's out. Down comes the speed. As he gets into the white arc, we'll go first stage of flaps. Speed brakes can go in. Less than 132, we can put the gear down. I am descending quite rapidly. We're 2,000 feet or 1,500 feet above the runway, which is okay for now. Let's get some drag out here, so gear down. Real air sims aircraft do simulate flap failure. I do need to be careful not to go over speed with the flaps out, but the speed is coming down very, very nicely now. Watching our rate of descent. Enriching the engine a little bit, not a lot. Next stage of flaps. It's also a very short runway. Need to get it down as slowly as possible. Next stage of flaps. Next stage will be final. Full flaps. Alright, back on the stick now. Trimming just to ease up. It is 5,800 feet. We are 6,300 feet. We are at a risk of getting a little bit too low here. Bringing on the power. Never a good idea to just snap on the power. So trying to be a little progressive. Trying to think ahead of the aircraft. Full flaps. Trimming. Looking at my speed there. It's a good speed. I do feel like I might be a little bit too high. But we're all configured to land. And we're fairly stable. Just pulling back now. Bleeding some more speed as a result. Bleeding some altitude as the speed comes down. Okay, lots of power now. We're approaching stall. That's about as brave as I want to get. A little bit too low. More power, more power, more power, more power. Slowing out our descent there. Still a little bit too low. I think we're going to be okay. And we're down. A little bit of a bounce. Alright, brakes are up. I am braking. Here's that right turn. I wasn't kidding. And that's the end of the runway, that tree. Bit of a rough landing. Not perfect by any means, but we are down. Okay, let's bring the flaps up. And see what we can do about turning around. This is it. This is Ononge. Papua New Guinea. Insane place to be. Typical Orbx chickens right there. Okay, so a bit more power. Full left brake, full left rudder. And both brakes. Wow. I will look at the replay in a second. In fact, it's probably a good idea to do that before I shut down. Should we do it before I shut down? We'll see. We'll see if I can get a replay or not. But anyway, people have advised me to turn the avionics off before killing the engine. So, we'll do that. Avionics here. Whoops. Let's get you off. Off. I left that on standby the whole way. Let's go ahead and turn Avionics Master off now. Cut the mixture. Cut the prop. Turn the fuel tanks off. There. Alright, so landing lights now. Strobe, nav. Should have turned those off sooner. And alternate. Oh no, let's turn the ignition off. Alternator and battery. Let's take a look. There we are. Pretty crazy flight. As I said, I will try to bring up a replay. It might not work because I've shut the aircraft down and that can mess with how Prepared's replay system works. But anyway, all the same, thank you so much for watching. As always, my name is Frugal, and until next time, I'll see you very soon.